AM 1100, Springfield's God's Informer.
I won't.
One street over there's a life I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold, but things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. Time's gone by, I've traded black dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today.
What's happening? One street over from where you live in. We love it when the Ridgetop Ramblers sing us in that original song. Just fits perfectly because we want to know what's happening one street over from where you live in. And in today, so we know what's going on with schools, Dr. Danny Weeks is in the house. Hello, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for remembering and coming in because they had why did they have the board meeting last week? Why did it get flipped?
You know, we publish our board calendar
Right.
in January of every year,
Mhm.
and so typically we meet on the second week. But in the fall, all of the school boards in a region, the Mid-Cumberland region, get together and they have a meeting together. And
Oh.
so actually the state association sets that date. And so we have to be a little flexible with when we meet because, you know, you don't want to meet on Monday night and then turn around and meet with the districts on Thursday night. So when we found out that fall district meeting was, we scheduled around it. And so that kind of threw off the September, October meetings. Then you throw in fall break, which was also
Sure.
during there. And then the Tennessee School Boards Association has a convention every year. And so that's where all the school boards across the state of Tennessee come together and they have a meeting. And that was at the end of last week. And so again, you know, trying not to meet Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then come back would have been yesterday
course.
meeting.
Yeah.
And then with the Veterans Day holiday too, I know
Right.
some of our folks might have been out of town. So, you know, just trying to play where, you know, that meetings are meaningful and they have a purpose. And so not just scheduling it because it's that day, but making sure that we have some time, you know, different business transactions and things that need to take place during that period of time.
Okay.
So it was pre-announced and, you know, it's been planned all the way since last January.
Right.
But just the flexibility needed there for, you know, not to have 4 meetings in a row within
Sure,
a
sure.
10-day period or something like that.
I'll pay more attention to that calendar because now I always expect the ones at the first of the year because of the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday
Yes.
and President's Day, I guess, is it? Is
Yes.
it those two?
Yes.
And so it adjusts then and it's on Is it on the 1st or the 3rd?
We really look at the calendar
Yeah.
and just see how it falls and see where
Yeah.
fall break's going to pull in there, and to
Well,
make
that
sure
would
that we
be
have that
winter.
flexibility.
So, but I'm talking about, because
Oh, you're right. You're right.
we changed the one in January and February because of
Yes.
those Monday holidays,
Yes.
and I feel like it's on the. It
I
ends
believe
up
it'll
being
be
on
on
the
the
third.
third. Maybe the third.
The third Monday. But
Right.
anyway, I'm always prepared for that one, but I'll start looking at that calendar better because this one, I was like, really? I didn't realize y'all were doing that. We were just talking about when he sat down how scattered I am. Of course, everybody that knows me knows that, my husband especially.
Well, the fun
But,
part is I actually got up last week, and I was driving in, and I
Yeah.
thought like, well, I don't even know if I'm supposed to come because I didn't know if you knew that. So,
Right.
but always glad to have an opportunity to talk about the school board and the Board of Education's business and what's going on in the school system. So, I could do that all the time. So
Well, we
glad to be here.
appreciate it. And when you emailed me last week, I was like, oh, no, I've already got somebody booked. And I'd had them
Right.
booked for a while. I can't remember now what I had on the schedule, but I do appreciate you being flexible on that. And I said, really, today's a great day for you to be here because today is the job fair. And your sweet bride would get us if we didn't spend some time talking about that. Now, I hope she listened last Thursday because we talked a lot about it because I had two of the principals in.
I heard that. Yes.
Yeah, and we talked a lot about it on Thursday, and I cannot credit the job fair enough. That's what opened the door for me to teach. I had gone there with the intent of pursuing ELL. And there's a long story about why I'm interested in that because I work with a lot of immigrants, and just fell in love with them. And I thought that's what I want to do. But I was going to have to go back to school and really do a lot of. I mean,
Right.
it was going to be intense for me to do that. And I get a call, I think the next week from Dr. Osborne going, I think we have something you might be interested in.
Yeah.
I was like, what? And they audio video, I was so excited. But I think me showing up to that job fair showed them how serious I was about making the jump into education.
Right.
I think that made them say, yeah, she's serious.
I think
know,
there are two things
yeah.
with that. The people that I know you tell the story about retiring from one career into
Yeah.
something else, and but people get out and are not satisfied with what they might be doing in their
Right.
current positions, and they're looking for something else. And then there's so many people that started degrees maybe in one thing, graduated, not happy with that, and maybe not even using their degree somewhere, or even people that didn't finish a degree.
Right.
And so there are all kinds of options for, we have full-time positions, we have part-time positions, we have, things that they may not even think about. Positions in computer
Driving a bus.
technology, driving buses, computer technology, HVAC. There are all kinds of positions that are out there that someone who enjoys working with students, enjoys working in the school system. For some people, it may just be about the calendar, that calendar
Right.
fits their lifestyle and fits what their families do. But, the job fair, we're doing a fall job fair this year and a spring job fair.
Okay.
So this afternoon from 1 to 4 o'clock at the central office, which is over at 800 MS Couts Boulevard, over near Bransford or behind, the greater, the church that's right there over behind Springfield Electric. Don't be afraid to come in and just see what kind of jobs are in there. If it's jobs for our cleaning contractors, our school nutrition, bus drivers, I mean, there are all kinds of jobs that, if you can imagine that jobs going out in the world outside our doors, it's also going on inside the school system. And so from everything from, again, technology, all kinds of maintenance employees and things like that, and people who are looking to, maybe I'd like to teach, and don't be afraid to come in and ask, because sometimes it's a matter of taking one or two classes. Sometimes it is a little bit harder than that. Sometimes it's tougher to go in, and just like you, the closer that your degree and your experiences are to what you want to teach, obviously the easier it's going to be. And so our HR department will work with you. There are going to be 4 folks from HR there today. Most all of our principals will be there today, and the department heads and transportation, maintenance, and all those folks. So they're going to be there looking for people that, looking for jobs and ready to start. And realistically, I mean, some of those jobs we could start you this week.
Right. There's special needs, especially.
Yes,
Yeah, there's
yes.
quite a few special needs openings because that's a tough job.
is.
I'm very close friends with Miss Gray that teaches that is our special education, and You know, and I talk to her a lot about, you know, different ones that I have that I'm working with, and she's so good. But I see her some days she's just exhausted. All those that work with them
Right.
because it's been a tough day, and
has
she'll
been.
tell me stories, and I'm just like, God bless you. I mean, it's a tough job, but it's a calling, and she'll tell you that anybody that works in special needs, it's a calling, and
It
if you
is.
have that calling, man, they need you, and they would love to have you.
And again, some of that, some of our earliest needy students start as early as 3 years old.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could be somebody who's 3 years old and needs that, or it could be, we host students like that if they meet certain guidelines, they can stay in school up to age 23.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
so, if they have those needs and particular attention, so it's just like I'm a kind of a secondary person, but I have an elementary degree at the same time. So you can teach wherever your desires fit. So
Mhm.
it may not always be I want to teach fourth grade instead of third grade, but that elementary age band, the middle school grades, and the high school grades. In most any subject, we can work around things like that.
Well, and that's in my situation, for me to go in and do ELL, it would have required some pretty serious education that I would have had to have gone in. But I was ready to do it because I was really and I just had no idea y'all were going to do an audio video program. I had no clue that was on the horizon. And of course, Dr. Causey said, "Oh, we've been planning on hiring you for 2 years." I'm like, "Oh, really? You were bringing this on?" Didn't well because we had talked when he would come in about my desire to look into it because I started out as an education major in college and switched to broadcasting my second semester. Got bit by the broadcast bug, and so it was always in the back of my mind. And so I thought, this I think it's a good fit because the schedule. I love the schedule. It is wonderful, and the fact that my husband's doing it too. If you're older, retired, the kids really get a kick out of us older folks. They really do. I think they see something different in us than they do in the ones that are in their and they love the ones that they connect with that are just maybe 10 years older than them.
Right.
But there's something there's a uniqueness I think we bring being older. And maybe they don't have relationships with their grandparents, and they can't really talk to anybody about what it was like growing up in the 60s and 70s. And I can speak to that. I remember what the Vietnam War was like,
Right.
and they're like, we have those conversations. So it's a unique perspective. So I can't say enough. If you think this is something you want to do, go to the job fair today and just see what's out there and see what's available. And you could go back to school and teach anything. But if you've got a degree already, just it just worked out for me. I'm just like, God just orchestrated everything. And my husband too. He ran a roofing company for 20 years, but his degree was in criminal justice. Well, he never dreamed he would use it, and then he gets his master's and in security, safety, and emergency management, and it became the perfect fit for what they needed for criminal justice. And it's like, really, who knew? And he is having so much fun. He loves it. And he's learning things that he's been passionate about his entire career because he always wanted to go into law enforcement.
I just saw and for people who can't come today, don't be afraid to call the HR department. Check out the website, see what jobs are out there. But just another story for somebody who's on your faculty. I was sitting down having lunch after church one Sunday, and somebody came by and he was kind of retirement age in his career, and said, I'm kind of looking for something to do. I'd like to, do you have something I could do? And of course, I tell everybody, well, you could drive a bus. And he said, no, I might like to teach something like communications or English or something like that. And I didn't think anything about it. I thought he might be joking or something. And they finished right before we did eating. And on the way out, he gave me his business card. He said, I'm very serious. He said, I want to go into teaching. And there again, he's at your school, I believe.
Mr. Valines, and he again, and the kids are like, we got a new teacher. And I said, yes, he's my friend. Be nice to him. I give him a hard time. I'm like, you be nice, because it's hard when you're first teaching. And he's teaching English. I'm like, oh, that's a real subject. that's a tested subject. With me, it's something that I tell my kids, it touches everything we do.
Right.
Audio video touches everything we do. And so if I told Dr. Osborne, I said, I really want all of them for one semester, just so they understand they're all broadcasters because of these things. And you've got to be mindful of it so they can all benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a very tough career. And it's just, it's one of those things. It's so subjective to what each student wants to get from the course.
Right.
It's not the case with English.
Right.
It's you've got to learn sentence structure and
Yes.
proper grammar, and it's so important right now because that's something that we see our students struggling with because they're so digital and they just don't know how to write and express themselves, and so it's such a vital. So I was like, wow, that's a lot. So I pray for him because I mean that's a lot, but he's doing great,
And that was
and he had to go back to school.
He did,
Yeah.
right, and that was certainly not one of my favorite subjects. And I'll go back to say, I had algebra and geometry when I was in
Yeah.
school, and so again, there's a lot of people that didn't like math in the first place, certainly didn't like algebra. So tough
See,
subjects.
So I get it with him because I didn't care for the English and the structure and all of that. I loved communications and writing speeches and those kinds of things. So I can understand him being in that.
Yeah.
And I think I could do it. It would be much harder than what I'm doing, but I would have to go back to school. So there's just, the point is, man, there's all kinds of avenues, and I don't think he has any regrets. I've seen him pretty stressed out some days, but I think and just like myself, there were times my first year, I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever get this.
Right.
And I still feel so lacking in so many things because I'm not trained as an educator, but there's a course that I'm taking that I'm just about finished with. I'll be finished in December. And that has helped me tremendously. And so there are programs to help you get acclimated. And of course, our professional development that we're all like, oh, it's a PD day. I learned so much at those. I learned some, especially the ones I can pick and look, I want to go to that one.
Right.
Oh, my husband and I both, he's like, oh, did you see this one? And we're such nerds with this stuff. And it's just finding the time to get it all done. But because we get time off and we get fall break and, time, it's just, it's good. It's a good life, y'all. Yeah. It's a good life. You get benefits. I mean, that's one thing, being older and still having access to benefits that I don't have to do through the government. Right there.
Right.
Right there. And, because I grew up with a farm family and they had to pay an exorbitant, my poor brother, I don't even know what he pays for insurance still because they're all independent farmers and my parents, the same thing. And they spent a fortune staying properly insured, but they stayed properly insured. And I knew that I would have to, if I fully retired, I'm gonna have to get a supplemental and that's going to cost. And I'm like, or I could teach and still have this purpose in my life, work with these young people who just keep me so, fired up for every day. I just love them. I just love them. They're just awesome.
It is. It's a good career, and again, we starting salary now is in the range where it's really doable. Where I remember my first paycheck, I looked at it and I thought, really, is this what I was going to get? But you mentioned health insurance benefits, dental benefits, eye care. A good retirement system. Yeah. So
very much so. There's a lot of reasons, guys, to look into it. And if you have any inclination to be a teacher, man, it is so rewarding. So rewarding. My class that I stepped into when I started, I became the homeroom teacher, the cat time teacher for sophomores. And they were little knuckleheads. They were like the ones, we're mean, we're ornery. They're just like, they just, how they like to do that kind of stuff. And they're not. They're just the sweetest kids in the world. And I love them to pieces. And they're graduating. And I was just gonna rip my heart out because I've been with these kiddos now. I mean, all of them. I've got kids that graduated last year, some of my broadcast students that I just miss so much because they were just a part. They just become part of your life. That you're with them more than you are anybody, and you just love them so much. I just can't say enough about it, guys. It's a good life. You need to check into it. Job fair today. We make Annette proud.
We would.
Okay, come on. So tell them the hours again and what the address is.
1 to 4 o'clock.
Okay.
At the district central office, 800 MS Couts Boulevard. Again, over behind Springfield Electric, next to Bransford Elementary School, back in there in the old Acme Boot Building.
Right.
And so very easy to find, large building back there. Just so, call us 384-5588. and somebody will get you there if you can't find it.
Do the phone number one more time.
615-384-5588.
There you go. Now, on to business, though, and we'll hit that one more time before we leave. But I just really wanted to, because that's what opened the door for me. I really wanted to make sure we emphasize it properly. What did y'all do at the board meeting last week? Did you have a very busy one, or was it kind of low key?
You know, we always have a time where we focus on the excellent things that are going on in our
Right.
school system, and so this meeting was probably the largest time of recognitions we've had. So I would say 20 minutes worth of recognitions. As you know, being a member of our staff, every year we have an opportunity to recognize the teachers of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And so a teacher of the year is a person who the school faculty notices something in them. And I don't know how you do it at your school, but some take open nominations, some take secret ballot nominations and things like that. But, you know, the honor of being recognized by your peers and being selected by your peers to be the teacher of the year. And again, sometimes the administrative staff pick from those nominees, sometimes a committee picks, and sometimes it's just a faculty vote. But to be selected by your peer to do that. And so all of our campuses had their teachers of the year at the board meeting the other night, and so we recognized them. The second group, similarly, but a first, second, or third year teacher, so a novice teacher of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And again, every school might not recognize a novice teacher of the year because, again, some, just they're recognized for, really doing a good job in those first 3 years. They are inexperienced and stuff, but somebody sees something in them and says, we want to recognize a novice teacher of the year. So several of our schools had elected a novice teacher of the year as well. And we recognized all of those individuals. And then finally, a support person of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So someone who is not a certified teacher. It could be a teacher assistant, could be a bookkeeper, secretary, could be, someone who works in the cafeteria. So just someone that is there. And again, all of our schools recognized one of those, and we brought those before the board to recognize those individuals. So, it's so important, when we feel that value and again, that affirmation from your staff and your colleagues. And so that's good to have those opportunities to see those individuals and see what they did. The state has a program to go ahead and recognize novice teachers of the year at the state level, and the same thing for the
wow.
teacher of the
Yeah.
year level. And so our district staff is reviewing the applications that those people turn in, and they're seeing, last year over at Bransford, we had a young lady that was selected the state Middle Tennessee Novice Teacher of the Year. And so we'll take the winners that are winners at the district level. We'll announce a district level Teacher of the Year and then submit those to the state. And again, good luck for that competition. The committee at the state level reviews names, and I think they actually sometimes come out and look at classrooms and see the work
wow.
they're doing, things like
Cool.
that. So that's a great opportunity. So that was our staff recognition for this month. We also recognized three students who participated in the state golf tournament. We had one state golf champion at the AAA level. He's a golfer from White House Heritage, did a wonderful job. I actually got a chance to follow him around about 5 or 6 holes out on the golf course one day during fall break. They play at the Sevierville Golf Course up in Gatlinburg, and so I had an opportunity to see him play.
Yeah.
It was really nice. We had a young lady that was finished in the top 15 of the state from East Robertson, and we also had a young lady from Springfield High School that finished. She was in class AAA, the larger schools, and she participated and did a good job. And so those three individuals were recognized before the board for their work.
Mm-hmm.
And then we recognized the East Robertson Lady Indians volleyball team. They're the state runners-up in their class for volleyball.
Awesome.
And so they had a great season, played all the way up till championship day, and unfortunately we saw them get beat, and but they had a wonderful season, great bunch of girls, and so the whole team came down and was recognized by the board. So great opportunity to see the complement of our staff that was recognized and students that were doing a great job.
Awesome. Very cool. Now, I know we've still got some fall sports going on because I know Springfield, oh my goodness, if we watched that game via, the Sports Dweebs
Right.
broadcast last Friday night. Oh my goodness. I mean, they were down bad and we were all like, oh,
Right.
it's over. And then all of a sudden came back. What an exciting game. And so
Yes.
they're still in.
We had four teams make the
Yeah.
playoffs. So that was Joe Burns,
Right.
East Robertson, White House Heritage, and Springfield.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, Joe Burns got beat last Friday night.
Okay.
But East, Springfield,
three are
and White
still
House
in.
Heritage are still in.
Awesome.
East Robertson hosts, White House Heritage hosts, and I believe Springfield travels.
They travel. Yeah, I know. And I'm wanting to Paris.
Henry County, yes.
Yeah,
Henry
Paris,
County
I
High School,
think is
Paris,
where they're
Tennessee.
going.
You're right.
Oh, because my husband teaches at Springfield, so I know more about Springfield than I do any of the other schools because he's over there. But anyway, that's okay. So I mean, we're excited for that. But that was a very exciting game Friday
Yes,
night. Oh my
yes.
goodness, that was exciting. Did you get to watch the end of that?
We had, as I mentioned, the school
Yeah.
board convention. So we had
Oh, yeah,
we
of
had the
course.
meetings in Nashville
yeah,
that
yeah,
night.
of course.
So I
Yeah,
missed
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I was listening to
Oh,
White House
yeah.
Heritage on the way home. As
Yeah, it was an exciting game, but we were so excited for those boys. But so that's very cool. So is that the only thing we've got as far as sports, fall sports that's still going on? Do we have anything else going?
Well,
We had
and
the-
again, some people want to call basketball a fall sport, so I don't know if it's a fall or winter, but our
Yeah.
middle school basketball has started,
yeah,
and so they had the jamboree a couple of weeks ago, and that's where each of the teams comes together and they play about a half, usually with a running clock, so that all six of our middle school teams can get in and play and be seen for about a half, and so they'll play each other in kind of it's kind of a scrimmage setting, but just kind of work some of those kinks out and things like that. So middle school basketball is up and running. I think wrestling is starting very soon, if
Very
they've not
soon.
already
Mhm.
started. And then, of course, varsity basketball. I think they have some of their scrimmages going on right now, and
there's a
the
jamboree.
jamboree's coming up
this weekend.
This weekend, that's
yeah,
right.
It's at Heritage, White House Heritage.
That's correct.
And I just, because we do the news, and I knew we had it in the news this week
Yeah.
that we do have at White House Heritage, the basketball jamboree.
Mhm.
So that is coming up. So very cool. I was
So-
just so busy.
It is, and
Mhm.
and you know, and sometimes athletics get the spotlight in sometimes what we do, but you know, as we've talked before, there's so many clubs and organizations that are getting to travel and do different things for their club and their organization, and you know, it's exciting to get to go see them compete. You know, some of them are learning things as they go. Some of them are competing with the skills that they're learning and doing things like that. So our FFAs are out traveling
Yeah, I
and
was going
doing
to say, I've got
different
something
things.
here for the
HOSAs are
FFA.
doing.
Yeah.
I know Beta Clubs, I believe, have their convention, and that's at Opryland. It's coming up, I
Mhm.
think, this weekend, and that's elementary beta, junior beta, and senior beta.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
you
not
know,
on my calendar.
lots of work over there. So you know, I want to tie that to something else.
Okay.
We had an opportunity to host county commissioners on a tour. We did that on the 30th of October, and so we pulled a bus out front, and we asked commissioners if you'd like to go ride around with us and just take a look at our schools. And so the mayor came, Jordan Osborne from the Chamber of Commerce went along with us. I think we had 10 county commissioners just hop on the bus with us, and we toured two of our elementary schools and one of our high schools, and just spent the morning together. And I really enjoyed talking to Mayor Vogel as he was traveling along with us. But you know, a couple of the commissioners and mayor said, you know, there's something that everybody can do to get involved somehow. You
Oh,
know, we talked about English. I'm not an English person. You may not be a math person. You know, those subject
Mhm.
levels, but you know, there's a club or organization that you know, it could be a social club, it could be a cause club, it could be they're you know, associated with a class or something they're in. All types of athletics. You know, you can any sport that's out there. We have a varsity or a junior varsity middle school team or something,
Mhm.
and you know, there's always something those kids can do. And you know, the commissioners saw that, and so you know, I think that's an encouragement to parents to be able to say, you know, find something to get involved, and that your grades are going to be so much better if you're connected somehow. You have that support of your students that are in those clubs. You have another advisor that's
Mhm.
working with them. So, you know, just the ability to be involved. And I think that's such a supplement to what we do in the classrooms, and whether it's athletics, clubs, organizations, and just opportunities to serve. There are all kinds of service clubs too. So great opportunities.
Well, just talking about getting involved in stuff, athletics, I know you're talking about it from the perspective of all of us in the community getting involved, but I've just got to just tell this little quick story. One of my students that is wanting to really play basketball and didn't make the team this time, and he thought it was maybe because of talent, was really disappointed, found out it's because his grades weren't awesome.
Yeah.
And the coach said, you bring those grades up, and it's that accountability.
Right.
That I was like, oh, how smart, and he sees that it wasn't anything about, I don't have a good jump shot or anything. It was about the fact that I've got to bring my grades up.
Yeah.
So all these things that there's just kind of intertwined, all these extracurricular things, and there's, it makes a difference in the kids' life. So if you want to make a difference in the kids' life, see where you can volunteer or just come to the games and support them and cheer them on. Do something. We got Fellowship of Christian Athletes, always needing people to come in and get involved if you want to get involved in athletics. If you want to tutor, there's all kinds of tutoring opportunities. So can't say enough about it. But like you said, there's something for everybody to do in our school systems, for sure. Let me pause and take a break. I don't want to, we were talking about some of the things coming up. We have our People's Choice Awards on Thursday night. Which is just a unique thing. And just say real quickly about that, it's a chance for any staff or faculty to pick one kid, one student that's just exemplary in some way. Maybe it's not an athlete. It's usually not an athlete, somebody that doesn't get recognized maybe any other way. But you're like, there's something special about this young person, and I want to acknowledge that. And I just think it's one of the coolest things. And a lot of that's, Miss Grimes in the Renaissance program. And my goodness, I hope we never lose her. Because she brings a lot to the table. So, but anyway, it's a cool program. And that's this Thursday night. If you want to be inspired by these young people, it's really cool. But let's pause and let's take a break and talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. Just love these folks. They're so involved in the community, always there for the events that are going on. You'll see them sponsoring all kinds of stuff. They've been around a long time. They were part of the Garden Gate team for so many years, and then once Barry opened a brokerage office here in Springfield, they took Rebecca's agency office in White House, combined the two to bring you a new branch in the Exit tree. So they're Exit Prime Realty. As we said, we've been saying it's not a new group, it's not a new organization, it's just a new branch in the same tree. If you look up Barry and Rebecca, you can, Barry Richards, Exit Prime Realty, Rebecca Richards, Exit Prime Realty. You're going to find unique Facebook pages for them, unique web pages. Barry's is kind of geared towards more marketing and the historical properties. Rebecca, just all the different listings that she has. She's one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. The reason I'm saying that is because they like to make the point. Yes, they help each other and they work together, but they're independent of each other too. And so they all have their own unique qualities that they bring to the table. And if you're somebody that's older and maybe your kids have moved away and you're thinking, I've got some land, I don't know what to do, I want to downsize, she is specifically trying to help you with that to make sure everything is done properly. The marketing aspect that Barry brings to the table, having been a marketer for so many years, is priceless when you're trying to sell property, to make sure it's seen in the proper light with the proper videography and photography and drone footage and walkthrough tours. I loved it when he came in and showed my students how to do a walkthrough tour. It's one of those things I tell them, audio video touches everything, and real estate's a big place where audio and video is needed. So it was just really cool to see all that. He even had an indoor drone he showed them. So just all the things that you need, they have got it covered. Either side of the table, whatever you're doing, buying or selling, or if you want to be mentored to be a realtor. They both came out of different careers, and they would love to help you make that transition as well. You can connect with them. Like I said, you can Google them, look them up, or you can go to sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com, and that's a good way to connect with them. And when you do, thank them for sponsoring, and also let them know that you took coming up very quickly, and he did the very difficult thing of coming in the middle of a year last year. That had to have been hard, but now you're kind of getting at. I mean, you're there. It's yours.
It feels much better.
Yeah, I bet it does. I bet it does. But we were talking about the school board meeting, which actually happened last week because of some scheduling issues. But we normally talk to him on the second Tuesday. Typically on the first Tuesday, we end up talking with a couple of principals. Mm-hmm. And we actually flipped that this year or this month because that was a day off because of the election.
Right.
And again, I can't remember now who I had in that day. It's just, but we put them. I called and I talked to Jim Bellis. I said, I bet those principals would really love to come in on Thursday instead of Tuesday since they're off, and wouldn't have to get up. But anyway, so what else did you do at the board meeting?
Well, one of the things that we do pretty regularly, and I'm going to say every couple of months or so, is we check out and compare our enrollment numbers. And as we all know, I think everyone knows that the enrollment in our schools is pretty flexible. There are people moving in, moving out, and transferring around. So that's presents some challenges in itself for both teachers and students. But we like to look and see where we are compared to the start of the year. Are we up? Are we down? As you know, many schools up north maybe don't even start till after Labor Day.
Right.
And so people that move to the south, sometimes are very late coming to school. And so we see how that impacts our students, our class size enrollments. And again, you as a classroom teacher know, what 2 or 3 extra students in your classroom does,
Oh,
and
yes.
how it can change the dynamics greatly. But we always look, and we have ours broken down by clusters. So as we talk about grade level clusters and clusters in the school system, we'll talk about the Joe Burns cluster, the East Robertson cluster, the White House cluster, Springfield cluster, and Greenbrier cluster. And so we look at all those schools in that. So, at Joe Burns, you have Joe Burns High and Joe Burns Elementary, and we look at the numbers by grade, how many teachers are there by grade, and then how many students are served. So we calculate those pupil-teacher ratios. And we also look to see the change over last year and see, what areas are growing faster. And this year, I think White House cluster was up about 5%.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, that's closely tied with the second part of what we do, and what we did a couple of weeks ago is we talk about having that 5-year facility plan out there. And again, Robertson County has done some renovations and some upgrades to some facilities, but in terms of new classroom space, there's not a lot of classroom space out there. And so the Board of Education is looking at those numbers and looking at fast growth areas to see, where are students moving, where are families moving in, and what areas of our county might need some additional classroom space.
Mm-hmm.
We have some portables. I guess probably I can think of 3 or 4 schools that have portables already in there. And, it's a portable's a temporary fix, obviously. It's, to bring that portable there. And sometimes it's just, because of a larger class coming through, we might put a portable outside of a classroom. But, I noticed right before I came back to Robertson County, there was a nice addition put on to Greenbrier Middle School.
Mm-hmm.
And I drove by there. There were 6 or 7 portables out front and around the side of the building. And so that was replaced by a nice classroom addition on the side of that building. And so, opening up additional space. And so as our board looks and studies enrollment numbers and class sizes and population, we're very fortunate to work very closely with counties. And there's some counties that every time a piece of property is annexed or rezoned or something like that, they'll send that notice to our office so that we can study that and see where it is, and if it's going to what the density of that new zoning happens to be. And so particularly we're working with the city of Springfield right now. Right over behind our office, there's a large development that's being proposed and discussed out there, and lots of families. And so that would probably cause need for a new school.
Mm-hmm.
And so the board would look and see, is that elementary school, is that middle school, is that a high school? What do we need, and how does that fit into the overall structure of our schools that are existent? Also, very closely mentioned White House being, one of our fastest growing areas right now. The 3 schools that are there are very full and have portables outside of them. And so the conversation about, what is it that we need to do in the next 3 to 5 years to look at new construction or look at additions and classroom space and how that's functioning. So the board, I guess it was back early summer, had asked for some proposals for construction management firms to kind of serve as that consultant and help us look at those numbers, help us look at the space that we have, and help us think through and design what is it that we actually need next. So there's conversation about a White House Heritage Middle School,
Mm-hmm.
conversation about a Springfield Middle School. There's conversation about just an additional some spaces here in the city of Springfield for career and tech and different things like that. So as we look at those spaces, again, having a construction manager on hand, that's their area of expertise. And then once the board finds that, what they'd like to build and what they think is necessary next, they help go through the design process. So they work very closely with architects. They help pick the firms that actually do the construction. They help us go to the county commission and talk about the necessary funding and things like that. So, there were a couple of firms that presented RFPs back in the summer. And so the Board of Education selected a group that they're like to move forward with and going to be working with. And so we're excited about that opportunity. Construction is something, it's one of those necessary evils and growth. And, we've studied growth real carefully. And, we had a conversation at staff meeting a couple of weeks ago. Just, you mentioned ELL and your love for ELL.
Mm-hmm.
And, what we had looked at, that our ELL population has grown, I think it's 28%
Wow.
in the last 2 years.
Wow.
And so, families coming in and how we serve those families and the space to serve those families and things like that. So again, it's
that's amazing. That
is.
blows
It's a
my
challenge.
mind. 28% in the last 2 years.
right.
Wow.
And so, we're always looking for the best utilization of space because, buildings are expensive to build, expensive to operate, and a new set of, just a new administration, new cleaning service, new insurance, and everything for that. But, sometimes many of our buildings are very old, and so, just to look at the buildings, how we're best utilizing them. Are there things that can be fixed with just an addition? Or are there things that, we really need to start from the ground and start with a new space? So tying the enrollment with the construction piece is something that was tied very closely together. And at our next board meeting, the board's really supposed to help us prioritize which direction do we want to go next. They've studied this for about a year, and hopefully we'll be ready to make some decisions. And the good thing about those plans is they're somewhat fluid. But I noticed as I turned in this morning, there was a new house built.
Yes,
being
there
built
is,
on the
right
corner.
on the corner. I was like, I didn't know they could put a house there,
I
but they are.
almost missed the turn this morning
Yeah.
because of that. But schools are much more complicated, and year and a half would probably be about the quickest that you could build a new school, depending on whether you're talking elementary, middle, or high. But to get the designs ready for that, to get the funding in line for that, you're talking a 2.5 year process. And so, again, that's why that's an urgent piece at this point in time for us. And again, it's, when I say urgent, it's you can't wait until you're really behind to start building.
No.
And so, looking at enrollment and tying that with construction.
What does it cost to build a school?
Um,
Is there like a ballpark that if you're going to put a school in, really, you can count on it being at least this?
we're hearing $350 a square foot.
$350 a square foot.
Yes,
Okay, that's a lot.
it is.
That's a lot.
And
I
that's,
wonder, I wonder what it costs to build an average house per square foot.
don't know.
I don't know. I'll have to, Trent Cobb, I'll have to reach out to you. He'll know.
You'll know.
He'll know. But that's interesting. $350 per square
Right.
foot.
And
Okay.
so much of the space is, there's a mix of, you look at a classroom, it's basically a bricko block room,
Right,
very
right.
easy to do, but then you get into gymnasiums, you get into
Yeah.
cafeterias, office complexes.
You have to average all that together.
You have to put all that
Right,
together. So,
Right.
when you see that, and our schools, I guess Heritage is the last new school that was built in the county, and that's been, I think, probably 15 years ago.
Yeah, you figure they had the big renovation out at Coopertown.
Right.
That was a
Mm-hmm.
a new section, and of course the one at Greenbrier, the new auditorium, and all of those things. So
Right. Currently
we've had
working.
new pieces.
We've had new pieces.
Yeah.
Doing some construction now at IA, and doing some renovations there. That's looking good. West side is coming right along. You know, the dry weather throughout the early fall has really helped that process. But you know, again, that's taking some new pieces and attaching it to buildings that were built in the 1950s and 1960s. And so again, that's you know, it is a lengthy process, an intense process.
Very much so. But I mean, it's going to be interesting. So you might end up. So by next meeting, do you think you'll have some solid projections on what this is where we're headed, or are we still not there yet? As far as this is going to be next.
I
When
hope
will
the
you know
board is
that?
there. I really think they. I think at least some of them are there. You know, it was interesting when you talked about me coming in the middle of the year. There were 4 or 5 projects just laying on the desk that people had talked about doing, and you know, some of them I you know, don't really know the origins of those projects and things, but you know, the IA project, the West Side project, there's some HVAC projects over in White House that are going to be, you know, we're looking at and probably doing this fall. But even some things, you know, we have some gymnasiums that the bleachers just really need some severe repair and replacements. And, you know, when you look at, you know, all the construction, all the management of just facilities, talked to our building ground supervisor, Clint Corbin, and we have 2.2 million square feet under roof.
Wow.
So when you think about that, and then, you know, the grounds that go along with that, where, you know, they have to be mowed and manicured and taken care of. And, you know, and as we think about, you know, talk about the square footage, but then you talk about the exterior upkeep of the buildings, the roofing that needs to be replaced, and, you know, painting that needs to be done. It's you know, it's a never-ending thing, right?
Well, I know we've talked about at Greenbrier the possibility of having another gymnasium put in, you know, and that's a dream, but I think that's down the line, you know.
It's one of the projects being talked about. So, you know, I think again, you know, classroom space, gym space. You know, we've got a couple of playgrounds that just need some attention and things like that. So
every school has something that they're like, we need this, and I'm sure, but that's interesting. So it'll be. I think everybody will be curious to know for sure what's next. You know. So that's exciting. So very good talking with Dr. Danny Weeks. He is our director of schools and about to hit his first year anniversary, doing an excellent job. And we just appreciate you coming in and keeping us informed. Let me pause and let's do our last break, and then we'll come back and we'll let you finish up everything with the meeting. But we do want to, and I want to continue to remind you, we are looking for some sponsors. I got some lines in the water, so we may have a couple of things filled. But with Veterans Motorplex at the Rim going to be dropping off, we keep thinking, this is their last week. This is the last week. This is their last week. They are going to have their last race on Saturday. They had originally thought they'd have it last weekend. They had to move it because of the rain schedule, and so they are having the Chili Willy Bowl happening this weekend, and it will be a lot of fun. I mean, it is going to be a blast. We have got, let's see, here's the list. $1,000 to win the 75-lap Crown Vic. That's the one that caught my husband's eyes. He goes, I want to see that. I want to see that. The $500 to win a 40-lap Pure Stocks, 100-lap Sportsman, 20-lap Big Dogs, 30-lap SRM Pro 4 Series, 20-lap Scrapers, 20-lap Bandolero Trophy Dash, and the 20-lap Ridge Runners. It's going to be an exciting time. They will start racing at 7. The gates open at 4:30. They'll have things for you to do with the kids and things like that. They've got a great concession stand. A lot of the local teenagers work there. It's sometimes their first gig, their first job out in the public. And so I've had some of my students work there. It's a great place and a great fun family atmosphere. $40 will get your entire family in unless you have more than 6 kids, y'all. Up to 6 kids and 2 adults for a $40 ticket price. This is the last race of the season. It is happening on Saturday. You want to get out there. Don't miss it because once the season's over, it'll be March before you can go and watch the racing again. Just go out and see the renovations they've done on the track. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Veterans Motorplex at the Rim, doing a great job. Appreciate you, Jerry. Appreciate you sponsoring. And when you talk to him, and be sure and follow him at Highland Rim Speedway. That's where you get all the information. If there happens to be rain or anything like that moving in, they'll let you know what's happening with the schedule. That's how I keep up with them. Trying to get Jerry on the phone is hard because he's a busy guy. But follow him at Highland Rim Speedway, Veterans Motorplex at the Rim, the historic Highland Rim Speedway. When you talk to them, when you see them, when you go out there, let them know.
one of the things that we talked quite a bit about was the state has released graduation rates from last year. And so we've shared those and very excited to see those. I think our lowest high school was had a graduation rate of 91.7, which is still very respectable and it's we set that minimum. We're looking for 93 to 95%, and they're very close to that. We did have school. Joe Burns High School was at 100%.
Oh yeah.
Phoenix Academy was at 100%.
I saw that. I was like, wow.
Yeah, those are exciting
Yeah.
numbers. And then you had some 94s, 96s, 98s.
We were up there.
I think you
We
were
were up there.
96 maybe, 97, 98.
Yeah, we were high. I forget exactly, but we did well.
And so we
did
were
well.
really
We were.
excited to have those numbers, and I think our schools are doing a great job. And we've talked about at staff meeting as well as we talked at board meeting. That we think about graduation rate just being those 8 or 10 teachers maybe that a senior might have, but it starts in elementary school when those kids are learning to read. Because if you can't get that reading down and have that ability to read, you're going to struggle all the way through, elementary, middle, and high school, and graduation is going to be that much tougher. Learning those numbers in elementary school and taking all that into consideration so that you can pass algebra and algebra 2 and geometry. And so it's an effort from everybody in the school system. Those graduation rates are, and so it's reflective of that. And you never know. You'd think that it'd be simple to calculate a graduation rate. Just how many people walked across the stage, and you'd think that's it. But there's so many avenues, and sometimes the government makes things complicated. And calculating graduation rates. The state graduation rate, the federal graduation rates are complicated because we become accountable for a student when they enter our school as a freshman.
That's what I was going to ask you. When do they start counting it? So
Yes.
is the minute we get them as a freshman,
Yes.
we're monitoring, are you going to graduate?
Are you going to
Interesting.
graduate?
Okay.
And you have 4 years plus 1 summer to graduate. So it's
Okay.
not that, somebody might be a little slower than somebody else and
Yeah.
need a little additional time. But if they don't graduate in 4 years plus that summer, they're not counted as a real graduate.
Okay.
And so, as we
Interesting.
know, there are challenges with that, and if we sometimes, it's easy for us to think about the student that started in elementary school, moved to middle school, moves on up to high school. It's easy for us to think about those, but sometimes we don't think about students that have moved here from somewhere. We don't think about students that sometimes experience problems at home, maybe get placed in state custody and have been 2 or 3 places, and then get turned over to us, and we have to serve those students as well. And students again that might come to our country and have no background in the English language. We're responsible for all of those students
Right.
once they enter as a freshman. And so again, the challenge is to help overcome some of those barriers. And again, that's one of the things I'm most proud of in our school system is, we have all of those supports, whether it's language supports, whether it's help with housing, whether it's help with social working and social skills, nutrition, transportation, school health, all of those things that help support, not just a freshman who's trying to graduate, but, from early kindergarten on up, and those that we have nurses in every school, social workers in every school cluster. And so people that really focus upon removing barriers so that our classroom teachers can be in there teaching and doing those things. So when we look at those rates, again, we're very proud of those, and we know that again, those are, we're not satisfied with a 90% or 85%. We want to see every student graduate. Some students, we have an early graduation option for them. And so if they complete their term at the middle of their senior year and have met some certain guidelines, we're glad to let them go ahead and graduate and go ahead and move on with their futures as they wish to. So we're proud of the rates, particularly proud of those 2 schools that had 100%. We also talked about that a couple years back. Robertson County had paired up with a place called Connections Academy and hosted that. It was a group, really kind of a virtual program that some students were in. And when the school system decided to do away with that virtual academy, all of those students who are enrolled in that program were accountable to Robertson County Schools because they'd entered as freshmen.
Mm.
And so since they're not graduating from Robertson County Schools, you know
Oh,
what
wow.
that does to our rate.
Well, yeah.
So I think we were held accountable for 177 students this
Oh, my
year
goodness.
that were not graduates
Yeah.
of our school system. And so, you know, when you look at our overall graduation rate, it's going to appear to be around 80. But when you look at the students who are in our classrooms, in our school system, and, you know, sitting behind our
Right.
desks and,
Right.
and going to school every day, you know, you'll see a much different perspective on that.
Okay.
So, you know, I think that's an important piece that everybody in our county understands,
Right.
because, you know, sometimes accountability has those unintended consequences, and sometimes even pilot and, you know, experimental programs like that have some unintended consequences for us 3, 4, 5 years down the road. And so
Mhm.
that makes it tough when we talk about what our graduation rate is. And, you know, it's sometimes defeating to look at a number that's you have no control over.
Right.
You don't know where those students are. And again, I think that's one of the things that our attendance offices and our administration look at. So as they, you know, as we have students transfer in and out of our school systems, it's so important that we track those students to see where they're going. So, you know, if a student leaves Springfield and goes to Joe Burns, it's easy. We know we get those records, we make that transfer. It's easy to find them. But sometimes when they move across the state of Tennessee, or, you know, definitely when they start moving out of state or around, you know, different parts of the country, it's hard to get records sometimes from another school system. And if we can't prove to the state that they've actually moved, it's not that they're just not here anymore. We have to prove in writing by this document trail that they're not with us. They count against us on our graduation
Wow.
rate. So
Wow.
that's tough.
Yeah, it is.
And you know, sometimes families just don't make that a priority if they leave our school system, particularly if they're not in good standing with us.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to, you know, maybe move to another state and
Mm-hmm.
not request your records and not
Yeah,
be
that's
found.
interesting. There's a student that's gone MIA from my class, and that's a senior that we're all kind of trying to figure out, where are you? Why aren't you coming?
Yeah.
All these things, and we can't get anywhere.
Yes.
And that's unfortunate. We try, but that's just unfortunate. Sometimes that happens, and there's all kinds of social situations that these
Right.
kids are involved in, and you do what you can, and you just, I mean, that's interesting. Okay.
And sometimes, you know, sometimes our families that have moved here, you know, they might go back to their home country for a while. you
Sure,
know,
sure, yeah,
and there is no exchange of records there.
exactly.
So again, if they're not meeting that 4 years in the summer, they don't count as a graduate for
Wow,
us.
that's a lot. That's a
It is.
lot. I mean, I was looking at the numbers while you were talking, and we were just right at 96%, just under 96%,
Okay.
which I'm very proud of. I was excited to see that, but that's interesting. So, what did you? We've just got a few more minutes. What else did you have? Anything else, or is that about it?
One thing I'd like to highlight is
Okay.
a lot of people ask, well, you know, you take a lot of holidays in the school system. Why were you in school on Veterans Day? And I don't know what you did at Greenbrier High yesterday, but
had a
you
great
know,
program,
We
yeah.
had wonderful programs throughout our school system, and you know, when we build a calendar, we build it around 180 school days and 180 instructional days for students. And so, you know, they're just, you know, with the election, that's a mandated holiday. When we have polling in our schools, we have to be out that day. So, you know, you hate to have just back to back to back holidays and things like that. But I was so impressed with the creativity of our teachers, the creativity of our students, the sincerity that was there in those programs. And so, you know, I never regret being in school on Veterans Day because,
me either.
you know, it's so much of a learning experience for those students, and to see, you know, what our country has done, and to see what, you know, families have done and sacrifices that have been made. And so, you know, having that day is a day of programming, and again, you know, we're learning things about that. And so, you know, bands and choirs do programs, you know, students have made speeches and gave speeches. So it's really a great day. So just wanted to highlight and touch on that. And then also I had a great privilege yesterday at lunch. Hopefully we'll both get to join this group in one of these days, but the retired teachers came to our office and had Thanksgiving lunch and had their Veterans Day program in our office.
Oh, cool.
And so got to eat with, I know at least 7 of my former teachers,
Okay.
and sat down at the table and had lunch and enjoyed time and conversation with them. And, you know, our former director of schools, Dan Whitlow, he was there for lunch. Just, there was a great group of teachers there, great group of people that are still passionate and, just want to keep asking, what can I do to help the school system? Can I come tutor?
Yeah.
Can I come read? Can I do those things? And so they're always coming back, and I'm not sure how often they meet, but I've had the opportunity to meet with them 3 or 4 times since I've been back, and just, love that group, love the passion, and just that heart that age group had. And again, there's some folks who've been retired a long time, and then I saw someone who retired just this past May. So it's a great group to gather with, and they were so refreshing to spend some time with yesterday.
I love it. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm a long way from retirement. Though. I'm just getting started.
Right.
So as long as the Lord lets me, I'm
That's
going to
right.
keep doing what I'm doing.
Exactly.
But appreciate you so much. Anything else on that list?
Again, just want to highlight that job fair this afternoon
Yes,
from
gotta
1
do
to
it one more
4.
time.
And, people can come out, 800 MS Couts Boulevard. Bring a resume if you have one, but don't, if you don't have one, that's okay. We can look at that. If you have a transcript, that's fine. If you don't, we can look at that. Looking for all positions in the school system, so not just teaching positions, but if you're interested in driving a bus, substitute teaching, working in a cleaning service, working in our cafeterias, anything that you might have skills and interest in doing, I think we can help find you a place to fit in.
For sure, and you will love it. These kids are fun. I mean, they're just the blast, and I just love them so much. It'll keep you young, folks. So if you're looking, it's definitely a good career. And if you're a young person that's wanting to change careers, I know there's some. Jack Martin that comes in here, preacher from up at Green Ridge.
Mm-hmm.
His granddaughter Hannah is in the embedded program, and I'm wanting to say White House Heritage maybe.
Right.
And she's already working to teach and just jumped right in right after graduation. Those kinds of things too.
Yeah.
All kinds of things. If you have any questions, that's the place to be today. Again, the time is from
1 to 4 this afternoon.
and the address one more time.
800 MS Couts Boulevard, Springfield.
We did good, Annette. We did good. We got it in there. Thank you so much, Dr. Danny Weeks, our Director of Schools. Thank you for joining us and for being with us this